Consider acceptance. Hi, I'm Carrie Todd from the Autism Society of Pittsburgh. I had the pleasure of meeting the people from Prime Stage Theater Group when we met to explore how our organizations could partner in order to bring theater to the autism community, specifically through sensory-friendly performances. I believe the art communities is the best bridge to gain acceptance and appreciation for the autism community. One of my personal goals is to do just that, facilitate acceptance and appreciation of neurodiversity everywhere. You may have heard the saying that in this world where you can be anything, be kind. I find this rings true with the acceptance of others with autism. I can trace my journey of acceptance as far back as kindergarten, where one of my classmates spoke slowly and seemed different. I recall my best friend was so kind to him. I'm sorry to say I kept my distance. Consider this. It's the year 2020. We live in a global society. Consider introducing the very young children in your life on the path of acceptance of diversity. You might start with storybooks. There are so many wonderful children's books that highlight awareness and acceptance of diversity. In my hometown, there was a young man who was different. He spoke loudly, he drooled, and he rode his bicycle everywhere, all year long. If I'm being honest, his differences scared me when I was a youth. Consider this. Find opportunities to talk to older children about physical differences. Realize that some may just be side effects from medication like drooling. It's not who they are. Then focus on what makes us the same. We all have the desire for friendship and we all like different activities. Fast forward 20 years, and I'm a young mother of 3 children. We had just enrolled our oldest in preschool and our youngest was a newborn. A kind mother from the end of the block offered to pick up and drop her off from preschool along with her son. Our neighbor Kay had another child who happened to have already graduated from high school. And actually, he was deaf. I had never been around anyone who was deaf before, and I wondered how I would talk with him. The first time I met him, he was sitting in the front seat of the van as they dropped off my daughter. My attempts to communicate with him failed terribly. Kay stepped around the back of the van with a smile on her face and smoothly facilitated our conversation. I was so grateful for her natural ease in that situation. Consider this. If you're a young family, you're also playing role model. By demonstrating openness and being respectful, you're leading your children to that path of acceptance and appreciation of diversity. 4 years later, our son gets a diagnosis of autism. I actually felt relieved. You see, it had been over a year and I was searching to understand why this seemingly healthy child couldn't seem to handle outings, especially ones that were supposed to be family fun. So from my perspective, with this diagnosis was the answer to understand and create a treatment plan. Those years were filled with learning, trial and error, and sprinkled with success. My husband and I agreed that there was only this one world for our son to live in, and we did our best to help him understand our typical world. At the same time, we began to see another role we played was to help others accept our son for who he is. Doing our best to broaden our son's ability to interact within the community, we endured countless glares and disapproving remarks. At first, I felt required to explain to these people that my son had autism, and sometimes even the simplest thing could create such an imbalance in his routine that it would result in an outburst. I quickly realized that taking time to explain autism to others in hopes that they would accept it stole that window of opportunity for teaching our son. Consider this. When you see a parent struggling with any child, please don't judge them. You may have been in a similar situation yourself. Instead, maybe try a reassuring smile. Another 20 years later, and I'm ready to help others on their journey to acceptance of neurodiversity. As a final step in a lengthy job interview process, I was brought to a day program to observe a diverse population of people aging in range from 20 to senior citizens with a variety of challenges. Now, I had never been in such a program setting before, and later I realized it was a bit of a test to see how I would interact with that community. A few of them immediately approached me and began the conversations, while others watched guardedly, and some ignored me completely. At that point in my life, I didn't feel awkward. Instead, I was comfortable and entered the situation with respect and kindness. In the busyness of that room, I really had to work to be present in those conversations, but I passed the test. Consider this. Your personal journey to acceptance is your choice. I hope you learn from my journey. I hope you choose to share acceptance with others. I ask that you use kindness and don't allow fear to hold you back. You don't need to know someone's diagnosis to accept them for who they are. All you really need is an openness and a genuine smile.